Hey everyone, and welcome to What Did I Miss, where today I'm looking at the first two episodes of WandaVision and diving into the meaning of some of the clues dropped within. The first two installments of the series were a dramatic departure from anything we've seen before in the MCU, as Wanda and the Vision have been thrown back into what looks like a different reality that is somewhat controlled by Wanda's action. We meet a few interesting characters along the way, including the nosy neighbor Agnes, played by Kathryn Hahn, as well as some other people in the town Westview. The episodes play out like they are part of a sitcom from different eras of American television, with the first episode taking a lot of inspiration from the shows Dick Van Dyke and I Love Lucy, and the second episode taking inspiration from I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched. But something is definitely off as Vision, Wanda, and others try to make sense of the abnormalities in their everyday lives. Here, I will break down the episodes and dive into some of the Easter eggs I found, which include what I think is confirmation on the plot and who the main villain is. I will also go over how the design of the show is meant to also tell a story, and specifically how shapes seem to be very important and appear continually throughout both episodes at key moments. Finally, I will let you know what comic book storylines I believe the show is taking from, and how the series will kick off Phase 4 of the Marvel Universe. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe bell, as I have many new videos coming out this year about the MCU, and you don't want to be the one left asking, what did I miss? From here on out, I will be discussing spoilers from the first two episodes, as well as from the comic books, other events in the MCU, and various syndicated television programs from over 50 years ago. The first episode starts with the newlyweds moving into a new home. As Vision walks into the room, he narrowly avoids a divan and instead passes through it. This is a callback to the intro to the Dick Van Dyke Show, in which the clumsy father falls into the living room each week. When Vision walks into the kitchen, he gets hit in the head and mentions his wife and her flying saucers, and she mentions her husband's indestructible head. This is no doubt referencing Wanda fighting aliens on the battlefields in both Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, and also referencing Vision's death in the latter, which, if you remember, he was left a shade of gray upon his demise, just like he looks like now. I like the background laughter in the episode, and in fact, Marvel had a live studio audience for the episode. The pair look at a calendar and see that Hart is above the 23rd day of the month. Up until this point in the MCU, there have been 23 movies released, starting with the original Iron Man. Although the town is not mentioned until the second episode, you can see Westview in the corner of the calendar. I think the town name may be a reference to the West Coast Avengers, a team that both Wanda and Vision were a part of, or perhaps, since these are all fabrication of American television programs, the West View is literally what the rest of the world viewed as what was going on in America due to the television programs on at the time. We are then introduced to Agnes, who is almost definitely a character from the comics named Agatha Harkness. Agatha Harkness is a very powerful witch, and in the comics is responsible for Wanda getting any control over her powers. Agnes introduces herself and offers to help Wanda plan her evening. If you notice, throughout the first two episodes, Agnes acts as a catalyst to keep Wanda busy. We then cut to Vision at work at Computation Services, and the song Yakety Yak is playing, which Vision will sing to his boss later on in the episode. The name of the company may be a play on that the Vision is partly made from the remnants of Jarvis, the AI that Tony Stark created that was built to process computational services. Vision's friend at work, Norm, even comments how no one can work as fast as Vision can. Vision is wearing a very curious looking tie with two circles in the middle and two on the outside. I believe that the circles on his tie are meant to represent him, Wanda, and their children. There are many examples throughout both episodes that Wanda and Vision's children will play a very important part in the story, and this I believe is the first clue as to that. I also think that the color of the file cabinets in the office are interesting, as it looks like instead of one solid color, there are many different colors and not any sort of design. Like something is not quite right there either. It is like the show creators are trying to make it seem like reality is not stable, and we continually see cracks and examples like this. We then get to see the first commercial made for the series, which is a toast maker from Stark Industries. This is obviously a callback to Tony and Howard Stark, and perhaps this is part of Wanda's subconscious, as she probably still holds a grudge against Stark after her brother and her were forced to stare at his name on an undetonated bomb for days, as was told in their first full appearance in the movie Age of Ultron. Next, we see Mr. and Mrs. Hart arrive for dinner, and while I'm not familiar with the actor playing Mr. Hart, Mrs. Hart is played by Deborah Jo Rupp, who is well known as the mother from That 70s Show. When Wanda comes out and startles her guests with her behavior and attire, Vision attributes it to her being from Sokovia, which was a part of her origin story shown in Avengers Age of Ultron. There are many things in the house that are examples of what was in the homes of 1950s America, but I did pick up on an odd shape in the front room on the lampshades, which have a hexagon on them, and this six-sided shape shows up many times throughout the episodes. The bottle of wine on the table is French and translates to House of Misery, which may be a reference to the very famous House of M storyline in the comics that Wanda is the catalyst for. In it, she rids the world of most of its mutant population in a snap after a mental breakdown. When they sit down to dinner, Wanda and Vision are unable to answer any questions from Mrs. Hart, and Mr. Hart starts choking. Vision is able to save him by using his abilities, as he pulls out something that looks to be in a hexagonal shape from his throat. I believe that these people may be trapped in this reality with Wanda and Vision. Perhaps when this reality was created, whoever was caught in the wake was converted into a character in the story. Mrs. Hart seems to be telling Wanda to stop it directly, as if she knows that Wanda is in control of the environment. As the episode ends, the scene fades and we see Wanda and Vision in a hexagon, with an Agent of S.W.O.R.D. watching them. We know it is an agent of S.W.O.R.D. because of the emblem in the lower left-hand portion of the screen. I think it is also interesting to note that it looks like the agent is using some type of special remote control, which kind of reminded me of the one used in the movie Stay Tuned, which was also about an augmented reality based around television. For those of you that don't know agents of S.W.O.R.D., they're kind of like agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. but dealt with problems in space. The second episode begins with Wanda and Vision in their beds while a loud thud is heard outside their window. I think this is actually S.W.O.R.D. trying to shoot their way into this reality. Later in the episode, we are introduced to a woman who in actuality is Monica Rambo, an agent of S.W.O.R.D. that we were introduced to as a child in the Captain Marvel movie. This may be her entering this reality through some type of brute force. Wanda pushes the beds together so they can get cozy and shuts off the light, possibly and in a weird way foreshadowing a revelation at the end of the episode. I really love the intro to this episode, and I think it's really brilliant. There will be new intros and commercials for each episode. As the first episode took from the Dick Van Dyke intro, this one borrows its style from Bewitched. At the beginning of the episode, Vision is practicing for a talent show, and that was a plotline used in the show Bewitched. Wanda rolls out a huge box with a large hexagon on it that is to be used for their show. Vision states that his name will be Illusion and that his wife's name will be Glamour, which anyone who has suffered through True Blood knows that glamour is a synonym for illusion. These names are also no doubt hints to their current circumstances, and if the progression of things from episode 1 to 2 is any indicator, it looks like with each new episode it will be harder to keep this reality from breaking apart. I also think it is interesting that Vision says that in the magic trick he will bring Wanda back exactly as she is. This may be a hint that magic was used to bring Vision back from the dead as well. Wanda also makes it a point to state that this is their new home now and she wants to fit in. It makes me think that maybe she is causing this progression through the decades, and that when something happens that makes their reality seem unreasonable, she just changes the channel and jumps them forward a decade. Let me know in the comments, do you think Wanda has any control over what is happening, or is someone controlling her? After Vision leaves, Wanda hears a thud outside and finds a toy helicopter in the bushes that is also in color while everything else around them is in black and white. On the side of the helicopter, you can see the S.W.O.R.D. emblem just as Agnes shows up. She distracts Wanda once again and gives Wanda a rabbit. The white rabbit is often a symbol of fantasy, as in the story Alice in Wonderland, Alice followed a rabbit to Wonderland. Agnes takes Wanda to meet Dottie and the rest of the women on the neighborhood planning committee. Dottie seems to be the queen bee of the neighborhood, and who better to play her than actress Emma Caulfield, who was well known as Anya from another vampire series, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Also in this scene is actress Jolene Purdy, who I know as the crying girl from Breaking Bad. After chiding her over chairs, Dottie proclaims that the devil is in the details, and Agnes adds that that is not the only place he is. We also meet Tiana Paris as Monica Rambo, who speaks as if she is playing a part as well, but seems to understand less about what is going on than the others do. Dottie tells the group that they must be successful for the children, which I think is another hint at the end of the episode. Dottie also tells the group to give themselves a big hand, which Wanda does out of turn. I think that this comment, along with the comment about the devil and the placement of the hexagon, a six-sided shape, showing up again and again, are all hints at the main villain behind this story, and that is Mephisto and the six-fingered hand. In the comics, the six-fingered hand is a group of demons who work for Mephisto. They were known to be enemies of the Defenders and specifically Doctor Strange, so this may be a way to get them and Mephisto into the MCU so that he can be the main villain of the next Doctor Strange movie. I believe that Dottie is one of these demons, and perhaps some of the other members of the town are as well, such as the Mailman. Their goal in the comics is to merge Hell with the Earth, but it may be retconned in a way to merge their universe with the main universe, which could be a catalyst to many universes trying to do the same thing. At the town safety meeting, Vision accuses Norm of being a communist, which I thought may have actually been a callback to the Bolshevik line in the first episode. He takes a stick of Big Red, another riff on communism, but also no doubt a reference to Vision's natural appearance. Back at the club, Wanda is trying to make nice with Dottie, who seems to be suspicious of her and her husband, which is what leads me to believe that Dottie is in on the ruse. While they are talking, a voice breaks through the radio as it is playing the song Help Me Rhonda by the Beach Boys, which seems to be augmented to sound like they are saying Help Me Wanda. The voice who is asking Wanda if she is the one doing all this is that of Jimmy Woo, who was in the last Ant-Man movie. The radio shorts out and the glass Dottie was holding breaks. Next we get a commercial for Strucker watches. This is no doubt a reference to the family of Wolfgang Baron von Strucker, who was played by Thomas Kretschmann in 2 movies and was the person responsible for Hydra, giving Wanda and her brother Pietro their powers. The watch is also stopped at the time 242, and this may be a reference to Avengers 242, which also saw the return of Vision after he was thought to be deceased. We cut to the talent show, and Monica as Geraldine and Wanda are on a stage that seems to be shaped like a hexagon. Vision arrives and is obviously impaired, and I almost wonder if the stick of gum acted like a spell. They perform their act with Vision using actual telekinesis to perform magic, and Wanda having to cover it up with props that make it look like they're giving away their secrets. They win the talent show as the crowd once again shouts it is for the children. Back at home, Wanda and Vision are surprised to see that Wanda now has a baby bump. I was wondering if they were actually going to hint that a robot and a person procreated, and I guess that is what the intro of this episode was supposed to be, but I don't think that is actually what happened. I think that the crowd continually saying for the children may have been the spell that actually helped put not one but 2 babies into Wanda's belly. and that when Wanda and Vision repeated it after hearing it over and over was what made her pregnant. Their children are the young Avengers Wiccan and Speed, and if you'd like to know more about them, I put a video out a few weeks ago that I will link here. Once again, they hear a thud outside and go to investigate. They see a man crawl out of a sewer wearing a beekeeper's outfit, and actually looks to be swarmed by bees. On his back is the logo for S.W.O.R.D, and he is obviously an agent. I think that the bees are another sign of the hive mind that is operating this reality, and the agent wearing a beekeeper's uniform and fighting off bees is actually a S.W.O.R.D agent using some kind of technology to try and get someone else in there with Wanda. Wanda resets the reality before this event after saying no, and the reality begins to turn to color, them included, as once again we see a six-sided hexagon as the episode fades out. Well, that was everything I saw, but you let me know, what did I miss? If you want to know more about characters like Agatha Harkness, Mephisto, and what happens with Wanda and Vision's children, I put out a video about what to expect where I discuss them all, and I will link that here. I liked the episodes, and it looked like they went to extreme lengths to be as authentic as possible, and it all felt very nostalgic, yet somehow new. I'm looking forward to future episodes, and if you are too, don't forget to smash that subscribe bell so YouTube lets you know when my videos are released. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time on What Did I Miss?